I love Pikmin. I'm one of those people that's just been withering away waiting for a new Pikmin game to release for the last decade. So when Pikmin 4 came out, I immediately fell in love with the game. I don't think it's absolutely perfect.
Stop locking on to stop.
But it's definitely one of my top contenders for Game of the Year. So, after beating the game, I basically just wanted to play it all over again. Now, the game's no Pikmin 3, but it's still very easy. So, during my playthrough, I was already thinking about possible challenge runs I could do, and something interesting came to mind. There's a lot of Pikmin types in this game, and you usually don't really have to use all of them, so I thought about the possibility of doing kind of a Nuzlocke. Now, if you don't know, a Nuzlocke is a common challenge run for Pokemon games, in which players are only allowed to catch a certain amount of Pokemon, and when any of their Pokemon die, they have to discard it. It's basically a permadeath challenge, and my idea with this run was to apply similar rules to Pikmin. The basic idea is that once any single Pikmin of a specific type dies, I am no longer allowed to use that type whatsoever. Now, I didn't really know how exactly this was gonna work, and kinda just made up some of the rules along the way, but it ended up working out just fine. Also, one thing I did beforehand was make a save file that's past the tutorial, so that I wouldn't have to go through those first 15 minutes every attempt. Okay, with all that out of the way, let's get started. Beginning should be very easy. Yeah, it was. I mean, since you only have red Pikmin at the start, I would immediately lose the whole challenge if I lost a single Pikmin, but that's kinda out of the question in this first area. There's barely any enemies that can even hurt your Pikmin at this point, and after farming a couple reds and getting some materials, I immediately entered the first cave where you can find ice Pikmin, meaning I now no longer just lose the challenge after losing a single Pikmin. After not paying any attention and almost losing the ice Pikmin right away, okay. I got the rest of the stuff in the cave, including the first necessary castaway, and made my way back to the surface. They should be fine. There shouldn't be anything along the way now. This is something I had to be pretty paranoid about, because if I just send my Pikmin out to bring stuff back to the base, I have to be 100% certain that there aren't any enemies along the way anymore, because those could easily kill some of my Pikmin while I'm not able to defend them. Let's practice some Dandori, let's do something else. Oh yeah, that's also something that I have no idea how it's gonna work. Because like, in Dandori challenges you have to use certain Pikmin types. I'm not sure if I'm actually like strict about it and I'm just not allowed to do the Dandori challenge if I don't have the Pikmin type anymore. We'll see how scary that rule is. Turns out that rule is really scary, because you actually have to do every Dandori battle in the game in order to get to the ending, meaning that I would just immediately lose the challenge if I lost any of the Pikmin types that I used in those. So I ended up deciding on a different rule, which is that I would still be allowed to use the Pikmin in Dandori battles normally, even if I have lost the type, but losing a Pikmin type in a Dandori battle for the first time still meant I lost that type for good. This way I still had an incentive to play carefully on some of the Dandori battles, but wasn't immediately screwed if I lost any of these Pikmin. Well, after collecting a couple more treasures and doing the second, slightly scarier cave, where you already get yellow Pikmin to my surprise, I ended the first day with just barely not enough Sparklium to move on to the second area. Now it's probably time to talk about upgrades. I didn't really have any idea on how to handle those either going into this run, but I ended up deciding on the following. I allowed myself to get a bunch of miscellaneous upgrades, like the charge skill and headlamp, but no elemental upgrades, since they would just completely nullify the challenge because I could just do everything with Oatchi. As well as no combat upgrades like health upgrades or the brace boots. I also didn't get any upgrades for Oatchi, since I felt that he just gets way too strong if you upgrade him, and you can just kinda kill any enemy in the game by just charging them a single time. With that, I started the second day, which I spent clearing out the first area by grabbing a bunch of treasures and doing the last few caves. No. They were completely off. That doesn't make any sense. As well as the first Dandori battle, which I played very carefully in order not to lose any Pikmin. On day 3, I could finally go to the second area, where I quickly got to exploring and ran into some slightly scarier enemies. Those guys aren't that scary actually, they can probably get some Pikmin, but yeah, well, about that. Oh. Oh, very nice cutscene, thank you. And that's Ice Pikmin. Well, since Ice Pikmin are a pretty integral type for fights, mixed with the fact that I immediately saw an ice gate in the distance, I decided to treat this attempt as somewhat of a test run and try it again the next day. Alright. Attempt 2. Yesterday's didn't go so well, but proper attempt now. I'm gonna actually play it carefully. And also I added a little something. I made a little visual down here to show like what Pikmin types I've obtained and what Pikmin types have already died. With these fancy new visuals, I confidently dove into the second attempt, clearing out the first area once again and then making my way over to the second area, in which I started being much more careful than I was the first time. And also being very paranoid once again. Can they actually kill Pikmin? I'm honestly not sure. Huh? The weird Electrodog things actually aren't a threat at all if you just play it safe and group up before challenging them, so I didn't really have any problems with this place the second time around. I did another cave where I got blue Pikmin, had more paranoia. It might actually be... Okay, that's a lot of leaves. Figured out what I actually had to be afraid of. Okay, they do exist. Another one. There's so many. Oh my god. Please auto-lock on. Okay. I think we're fine. And fought the first proper boss of the run, which only caused a little bit of chaos. Okay, that's not very good. After some confusion... Wait, why did I even build this bridge if I just said I'm gonna go up here first? Whatever. I did yet another cave, for which my hopes weren't really all that high. Maybe... First death in here, not gonna lie. There wasn't one, I was just very scared of dropping Pikmin into the abyss. After clearing this cave, the day was almost over, so I didn't really have time to do anything else. I actually already had enough Sparklium to get to the third area, but since I hadn't found the necessary rescue yet, I decided to go back once again. Moving on to the third cave, I didn't buy the headlamp, did I? Well, I still decided to jump in, and while the dark caves are definitely a lot more scary without the headlamp, I just kinda played it safe by not caring about treasures very much and just grabbed the rescue at the end, which did end up being the rescue corps member that I needed. There's a treasure, seriously? I thought there was just the one in the cave. I'm not gonna kill him now, I don't care enough. I don't need treasures enough to disturb his peace. After going through this moral qualm, I grabbed another Flarlick and then ended the day. I decided to do my first night mission since those are available now. The rule I came up with for Glow Pikmin was similar to the rules for Dandori Battles, in that I'm always allowed to use them in night missions, but if I lose a single one anywhere, I'm no longer allowed to use glow seeds during the daytime. So, after clearing out the very boring first night mission, I added a couple of them to my repertoire. I then realized that you actually also need to do the Dandori Battle in the second area, so I returned there one more time. I beat Olimar without any casualties, and then did another night mission in which... Oh. Well... I immediately lost some glow Pikmin, so that's that. And I wasn't even recording, nice. Yeah, I left for a minute and paused the recording and then kinda forgot to turn it back on in time. Whoops. Just imagine me entering the third area and completely destroying Olimar in the Dandori battle. Like, I platinumed it even though I was playing it safe. The dude had 6 Pikmin left at the end, I have no idea what happened. This was actually the only castaway you need in this area, so I just spent the rest of the day getting the remaining Sparklium needed to move on. I faced a couple scary things, like this crab that I was way too afraid of. This boss up here that actually almost ended very poorly. Please? Okay. Okay. And a bit of a close call on the boss of the cave that I did. Okay, that was actually kinda close. After leaving the cave, I didn't even have time to do anything else. Gonna grab the blue onion really quick. Okay, I'm not grabbing the blue onion anymore. So I just ended the day once again, did another boring night mission, and then I was able to move on to the fourth area. All I really needed to do here is get the 3 cards to unlock the way to the final Dandori battle. This area is definitely scarier than the ones we've seen so far. I took care of Moss pretty quickly, but there's things like these fleas for example that can just quickly overrun you and get very chaotic. There's also these guys that I don't have any rock Pikmin for at the moment. And this cannon beetle who almost got my red Pikmin. But after scouting out the area, I managed to get to the other card. Okay. I did not think they were gonna go around this way. Come on, there was a completely safe, quick way to the base right next to the treasure, but no, for some reason the Pikmin just had to go through the completely enemy-infested way while I wasn't paying any attention. At least I didn't also lose yellow Pikmin here, it was also a very close call for those guys. After this disaster, I didn't even have time to get the last card anymore, and also ended the stream for the day. I'm gonna try to finish the rest of the game today.
1 minute, 37 seconds later.
Okay, now we're actually gonna do this. Right, so I simply grabbed the remaining card and jumped into the save to do the final Dandori Battle. By the way, this is the point where I finally decided on the actual ruling of how I should treat Dandori Battles in this challenge, upon which I immediately lost the Rock Pikmin, so joke's on me. It was actually looking kinda close as well, but since I no longer had to care about Rock Pikmin now, I just started going in and managed to win by a lot right at the end. And just like that, I had secured the first ending. Actually no, that's not the first ending. I still have to do a night mission. Oh yeah, right, another boring night mission that isn't even a threat in any way at this point. Okay, after that we've actually secured the first ending, and after skipping the credits, there actually isn't all that much left to do. Just 3 more castaways in the last 2 areas, and then we can do the final cave. There's one problem though. Since I haven't really been doing caves all that much, I didn't have enough sparklium at all. So I collected a bunch of overworld treasures, did the bread bar cave where I got purple Pikmin, as well as some rock Pikmin that I just kinda... I can just throw the rock Pikmin into any corner, I don't care about that. I mean, I wasn't allowed to use them. After clearing out pretty much everything in the overworld, I barely didn't have enough sparklium. So I decided on another cave that I could do in the 3rd area, which had white Pikmin. After another terrifying close call... Okay, that was really scary. I finally had enough sparklium to move on to the 5th area. There really isn't that much left. I probably can do this.
Are you sure about that?
Something I realized upon landing in this area is that I had no idea if I was even able to get to all the things I needed. Since this area revolves around a mechanic of lighting these things on fire using red Pikmin, which I no longer have access to. And not only was that realization unpleasant enough, I also had this happen right away to make this area even more enticing. That's not good. That's not good. Well, that's one of the 2 best Pikmin types out of the equation. We might still lose yet. And that's the sound of my morale sinking very rapidly. At least I was able to reach the necessary cave, which consists of only 1 relatively scary sub-level. As long as I don't lose a purple Pikmin here, I'm still somewhat hopeful. This cave does also have winged Pikmin, so now we've actually obtained, or lost, all of the Pikmin types. The boss in this area can be kinda scary, since if you mess up the timing on knocking him over a little bit, you could easily... doing this, and yep, this is exactly it. Huh. Wow, he got everyone as well. That's yellow Pikmin, winged Pikmin and purple Pikmin all wiped out from one single attack. This guy needs to get a raise. Losing these 3 types not only means that the strongest Pikmin type is gone, but also that I have to do the rest of the game with only blue and white Pikmin, so my confidence wasn't exactly getting any higher. I think we lose. Probably. That's definitely not how I saw this going. I was still ready to try to beat the game though, obviously, but that would have to happen the next day. After getting a good night's rest, I went back into the cave with my 50 remaining Pikmin and figured out how you're actually supposed to fight this guy. For some reason I thought that you had to knock him over by charging into the part of him that gets exposed when he lifts his trunk, but no, you can just charge into any part of him, which makes the fight a lot more simple, so that's good to know. After killing him the intended way, I cleared out the rest of the cave and made my way over to the Dandori Battle, which was luckily possible without any rats. After clearing that, I got really scared for a second because I thought that the Pikmin might not be able to carry this guy back to the base without burning these things. These? Yeah, okay. Okay, I was very scared for a second. But it ended up working out and I could move on from the area. I was missing a little bit of sparklium to get to the final area, which I decided to just get in the 1st area, where I also grabbed the blue onion and farmed some more blue Pikmin and a bunch of spicy spray. After getting 15 spicy sprays, it was time to move on to the final area. The first goal over here is simply to get to the Dandori Battle, which is actually a pretty simple path. You just gotta watch out for these mimic frogs along the way, but apart from that, it's pretty easy to just run over here without having to confront any enemies. The final battle was also very easy for some reason. In fact, I almost platinumed it somehow. Now, I was basically ready to attempt the final cave. All I had to do was carry the rescue back to the base that's very close by. I cleared out most of the enemies along the way pretty easily, but then realized that there's still one more thing to take care of. Oh, hold on a second. Yep, almost just got screwed here. Please. Oh my god. Why did that guy get launched in front of him? No, like seriously, that's the worst way to lose this challenge. I mean, I theoretically hadn't lost yet. However, I quickly realized that losing blue Pikmin meant that I was no longer able to get any more white Pikmin, since you can only get those from candy pop buds, meaning that I now had to beat the entirety of this insanely difficult cave using only 10 white Pikmin without losing a single one. Now, this might seem like an impossible task, but you wouldn't believe what happened next. Yeah, well, what did you expect? Right before entering the cave, I also realized that you need at least 15 Pikmin to even damage the final boss, so there wasn't even a possibility of me beating the game anymore. I mean, I probably would have also lost blue Pikmin within the final cave, but it would have at least been nice to get a real attempt. But sadly, I lost the challenge in a very stupid way right at the end. Well, time to do it all over again. Okay, here we go again. Losing Glow Pikmin is pretty much expected, and Yellow Pikmin aren't super important, but losing Ice Pikmin as early as I did was pretty bad. Not only are those one of the best Pikmin types for fighting, without them I also couldn't do the Sub-Zero Sauna Cave, which is where I would have grabbed White Pikmin, so I just don't have those up until now. Whatever, at least we actually have all of the recommended Pikmin types for the 5th area this time, with Rock Pikmin being a very helpful addition. I just made my way through the area like normal again, with the only difference being that I was actually able to burn stuff like you're supposed to this time. I decided to not use purple Pikmin for the cave, cause I didn't want to risk losing them again. The cave played out pretty much the same. I took care of all the enemies, got winged Pikmin, and then made my way to the boss. Knowing that you can just knock him over anywhere made this fight way less scary. After leaving the cave, I already had almost enough Sparklium to move on, since I was able to grab a lot more treasures in the overworld, and decided to farm a couple more purple Pikmin before making my way over to the Dandori Battle. After taking care of that, I just had to transport the rescue back to my base. It should be even easier now, since I could open this gate using rock Pikmin. Just need to get these guys out of the way first. Uh-oh. Looks like I'm cursed to always have some horrible disaster happen in this area. I didn't quite realize what had happened, which is why I reacted the way I did. Well, whatever. At first I only saw the red Pikmin death and thought, okay, that's fine, I don't necessarily need those anymore. But then one of the little guys also ate a rock Pikmin, which made the situation a lot worse. And not only that, but I didn't even notice while I was in the status screen that they also ate some blue Pikmin, meaning that I have once again lost 3 types at once. By the time I actually realized the weight of what had just happened, my confidence dipped quite a lot once again. God, dude, it was looking so good. After getting the last treasure and almost losing winged Pikmin as well... Okay, nice. I made a pretty significant realization. Oh, I just realized I can't even farm Pikmin anymore now. That's right, since I don't have any Pikmin type that I have an onion for, I can't reliably farm Pikmin right now. There is theoretically a winged Pikmin onion in the last area, but you need white Pikmin to get it. For now, I just prepared everything needed to get to the final cave, and then did the Dandori Battle, which was way harder than last time. I actually lost the first time, which was really scary because I had to play very carefully, since I didn't want to lose my winged Pikmin as well. I also played it much more carefully while dealing with the Mimic guy this time around, which ended up being completely unnecessary because the winged Pikmin just moved around it. After I was done with this, I grabbed all the materials I could get, stocked up on a bunch of items, and decided that my plan was going to be to just turn all of my winged Pikmin into purple Pikmin, and then try my absolute hardest to not lose a single Pikmin in the final cave. 45 purple Pikmin? Not allowed to lose a single one? Let's see how far we can get in here. Yeah, I wasn't super confident for this again, but you wouldn't believe what happened next. How did he survive that? Yeah, I have no idea how I clutched that out. I guess purple Pikmin are just really that OP. Well, I'm glad I did, because that winning attempt took me almost 6 hours and I did not want to do all that again. If it wasn't already clear from the video, this whole run was streamed over on my Twitch. I plan on doing something like this on stream again and generally just want to stream a lot more, so I'd really appreciate if you decided to check that out and maybe give me a follow while you're at it. Also, subscribe if you enjoyed, of course. That's pretty much it from me. See you in the next video. Bye!